Hi. I just wanted to show you some of the samples that I've made of the Doodle Kit bag. And the idea is that I wanted to give you some ideas about what you can use for stabiliser. Now, I don't mean the woven fusible interfacing, because the woven fusible interfacing will go on all fabric parts. But this is traditionally a bag that would have been made from a medium to heavyweight canvas. It wouldn't have been lined. It was designed to move the possessions of service personnel from A to B in an effective way, and then the bag could be just kind of flattened, screwed up and stuffed into a locker. Ours obviously isn't quite as big as the traditional military ones, because we don't all want to be carrying everything that we own, all our worldly goods at one time. We want to use it as a bag to carry whatever we want. It's big enough to take your stuff to the gym, or as a beach bag, or if you're a person that likes to carry a lot of stuff, then just as a daily bag. I mean, I like, I'm going to use mine when I go on holiday, because I tend to cart all sorts of stuff around with me when I'm on holiday, and because this can be worn either over the shoulder or with the rope handle across the body, you can wear it as a backpack. So let's start with our first sample. All of the samples I've made have got woven cotton linings, and those have all been interfaced with a woven fusible interfacing. I'm in the UK, so it's Violin G700 is the brand that we buy in the UK. SF101, so Shapeflex, Pellon Shapeflex 101 is what you would get in the USA. There are lots and lots of variations of the same thing. Any of those will be absolutely fine for the lining. Now let's look at the exterior. The exterior on this bag, I'm suggesting you use a slightly heavier weight fabric than you perhaps might normally use. So something like a waxed canvas, a denim, a heavier weight canvas, a decor weight fabric. Faux leather will work. The only thing I would say I don't think will work is a good quality cork, because of the way the top is gathered. Cork has a nasty habit of cracking and peeling, and it's also, if you buy decent quality cork, it's also quite stiff, and I don't think it will gather up enough. I haven't tried it because I just don't think it will, and I don't really want to waste cork to try it out. My advice is don't. So my first sample is made from a waxed canvas, and you can see that it's got that lovely sort of creased lived-in look. The inside is cotton. Can't really see it, but it is. You'll have to trust me on that. And you can see the top gathers up nice and tight, and that means that when you're carrying it, it's closed, so it's safe to use when you're out and about. If you carry it on your shoulder, or if you, I mean, I haven't made the straps particularly long because I like to carry it on my shoulder. My daughter, who's a little daintier than I, likes to carry hers thus. I'd need my straps a little bit longer, otherwise I look like I've got a cross your heart bra on. So she carries it so that it sits across her back. So this one is a medium weight waxed canvas, and you get all that beautiful detailing that you get with a waxed canvas, all these lovely creases and such like. Now, anybody that's ever used a waxed canvas before will know that you can't iron anything onto it because it just doesn't work. So this one is just the waxed canvas. However, I felt that it was a little floppy without anything, so I applied a fusible fleece to the lining, and that's only the main part of the lining, not to the part at the top where you've got the facing panel. So this one, now you can see it's quite soft. I can squish it down. Be great for holiday because I can kind of flatten it and stick it in the suitcase. Now the base of this one has headliner foam in it, but I didn't put any Decavil in this, so it will squish up if I wanted to. And that was my daughter's nabbed this one, and that's her choice. So you can see it's a perfectly good and perfectly usable bag, but it doesn't have a vast amount of structure. It actually looks more like the traditional kit bags should do. It works. They're not, this sort of bag isn't really designed to have a lot of structure. They're not supposed to have a lot of structure. So that's a medium weight waxed canvas, and as you can see, because it's kind of held from the top, it actually holds its shape fairly well. It's really about the stiffness of the bottom, I think, for this one. So this one has a layer of fusible fleece on the lining, and woven fusible fleece on the lining, and a layer of headliner foam in the base. So that's sample number 1. Sample number 2 is made from a Decaweight digital velvet. Now this is let me just grab a piece of the velvet. It's an upholstery weight, but it's very soft. It doesn't have a great deal of structure, so it just feels beautiful, but it's not got it doesn't have any standy uppiness. So what did I use for this? I decided, again, this has got a cotton lining, so we've got the standard woven fusible on the lining, and it sits beautifully inside, and the lining is made so that it fits inside. It's not baggy, it will sit perfectly inside of your bag. So you have a separate pattern piece and you shape your lining so that it will fit inside of your bag perfectly. So this one, I decided not to use fusible fleece. Read As didn't have any more fusible fleece, but I wanted to use this particular fabric, and so what I ended up doing was actually applying 2 layers of woven fusible interfacing to this, and actually it's a really nice bag. It feels more structured than the waxed canvas one, and it sits nicely. The bottom has got Decaweight in it and a layer of headliner foam, so it's a bit more structured than the first one. It still feels, if I push it down, it will still compress, but it's less compressible, is that word, than the first one. So, but it retains the shape, it feels as it should do. So I like this one. I think this is a great combination. So if you're using something that's a sort of a decor weight, or possibly canvas or denim, you could get away with just 2 layers of woven fusible interfacing. Now, I haven't put the measurement or the quantities for 2 layers of woven fusible interfacing on the pattern, so you will need more than there's in the pattern. There are so many options that it's difficult to kind of write them all down in the pattern. So you can see that works really well, and I just love the colours of this one. I'm going to keep this one. I did use faux leather for the rope connectors in this one, because I just didn't want to be messing around with lots and lots of this velvet, because although it's not particularly sturdy, it's quite thick because it's got a pile on it. So I felt that it was easier to use faux leather, and because I used faux leather, I only did a double fold. I did reinforce that with a little bit of Decaweight, so to make sure that they're nice and strong, because obviously you're going to have quite a bit of weight hanging onto that. So that's the second version. And then I decided I'd have a go and see how we would go with a sort of slightly more structured version. And this one is in faux leather. Now this faux leather is fairly stiff. It's a thicker, you can see even just by looking at it that this bag is just more structured. This one has Decaweight and a headliner foam in the base, and it has headliner foam on the body also. The pattern will show you where you need to apply your fusible fleece or your headliner foam. Now I did try using Stabiliser, which is the same sort of thing as your Bianni's Soft and Stable if you're in America, or the Pellon Flex foam, and it just felt too much. So this is 2 to 3 millimeter headliner scrim foam that I've used in this, and it's enough with the faux leather. And this is quite a stiff faux leather. Now you can see it's much more structured, much more structured. If I press it down, it will compress, but you can see it's kind of coming back up again. It's like coming to life again. It's not uber stiff, but it does hold its shape. And if I hold onto that, you can see that it just literally pulls back out again. This bag's got nothing in it, so it's nothing in there to sort of make it hold its shape. again, we've got the Decaville and the foam on the base, which just gives it a nice, it means that when you've got it full, and this is a big bag so you can put a lot in it, it's not going to bulge at the bottom, because that's what we don't want. So I would always use the Decaville at least on the base, and because I'd use foam on the side, I decided to use the foam on the bottom, but it's all headliner foam or scrim foam, so 2 to 3 millimeter thick scrim foam. Again, this one fully lined in cotton, and I've used an overlay, difficult to see, used an overlay on my pocket inside there that matches the faux leather on the outside. Only did that because I had just a tiny bit left over. This was 1/2 meter of faux leather, fabulous. I think I should probably keep this one too, because I like this one. I just love this faux leather. So there are your options. You need to base your stabiliser choices on the fabric that you're using. Obviously, with something like waxed canvas, you can't apply anything to it, so you need to apply whatever you're going to do to the lining of the bag rather. The pattern will show you how to apply fusible fleece or foam to the exterior panel if you decide you want to use it. It's your choice. It depends how structured you want your bag to be. So traditionally they were floppier than this one, but I like the structure. It's a personal preference, and it will be entirely based on the fabric that you use for your exterior. I really would suggest that you use a thicker weight fabric. Now, if you're going to use, there's always somebody that wants to use quilting weight cotton, and if that's what you've got, then I think this could be done with quilting weight cotton. What I would suggest is 2 layers of woven fusible interfacing and either foam or fleece added, just to give it some structure, because otherwise it would be a bit floppy and lackluster. So there are your options. The only other thing that I think I haven't covered is tweed. If you wanted to make this out of tweed, I think again you would probably need a fusible fleece and a woven fusible interfacing. My only issue with the tweed is that making holes and adding grommets can cause issue. If you're going to use tweed, the easiest way to add a grommet is to mark where your hole is going to be made and stitch around the outside before you cut the hole. Make the hole, add some fray check or a little bit of fabric glue or something like that that's just going to hold all of the fibres from the tweed in place, because tweed has a nasty habit of unravelling, and even though you're going to have a grommet on top, which, or eyelet, whatever you want to call them, which will kind of hold the fibres in place, over time they will pull out. So you need to make sure that the holes that you make are really well sealed and all of the fibres are kind of glued together. There's no issue with putting on a little bit of fabric glue or fray check before you fit your grommet. I never really envisaged this in tweed. I think it would be great, but I think it would be very expensive, because things like Harris tweed are very expensive. We all love to try these things. These are the options that I've made. I have another one in denim that I'm about to finish, but I'm thinking that denim is a similar sort of weight really to this velvet. It's not quite as thick, but it's got a similar amount of structure to the actual fabric itself. So those are your options for stabilisers. All of the fabric parts, whatever I've made them out of, unless it was either faux leather or waxed canvas, have been given a 1 layer of woven fusible interfacing. In this case, 2 layers on the outside, 1 layer on the inside. There's nothing else in the body of this other than the 3 layers. How many fingers? 3 layers of woven fusible interfacing, 2 on the outside, 1 on the inside. Don't be tempted to use a non-woven interfacing, because this does have to be screwed up to get it back out through the pocket, and it will look absolutely abysmal if you use a non-woven interfacing. It will just crease and bubble, and it makes your fabric look papery. If you're concerned, or if you don't understand the difference between woven interfacing and a non-woven interfacing, do check my video on YouTube in the bag making hints and tips playlist, where I compare woven to non-woven interfacing, and you can see it makes a vast difference to the finish of your bag, especially once you've turned it. What looks really great when you iron it on, you think, yes, that's perfect. Once you've scrunched it up and turned it, just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And for a bag like this, which is going to use a fair bit of fabric, you don't really want to waste your fabric. So those are some of the options. You have to use your knowledge of your fabrics and the idea of what kind of finish you want on your bag, how structured you want your finished bag to be, to make your choices. Lots of options.